Hi everyone, today is day number 4 and it is the final day of my Women's History Month book tribute. And so the book that I will be reviewing for today is Mama Miti, and it is written by Donna Jo Napoli, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, and illustrated by one of my favorite illustrators in the whole wide world, Kadir Nelson. The reason I selected this book mainly was because it was illustrated by Kadir Nelson. I didn't even know what the story was about. All I saw was Kadir Nelson and I grabbed it. So I selected this book because he was coming to St. Louis a couple of years ago and I wanted him to sign it, which he did. This book is about an African woman who helped to plant millions of trees in Kenya and helped people gather together and collaborate to make an even better earth. So that is why these illustrations are particularly special. Kadir Nelson usually does all oils, and that's about it. But this one, he used oils and fabric. So see? So I'm going to read to you a note that he wrote about the illustrations. The artwork is rendered with oil paints and printed fabrics on gessoed board. I chose to use these materials because African culture is rich with textiles and color, and I felt it essential that the artwork reflect an aesthetic of both East Africa and my own work. It was a bit of a challenge telling this story, using mostly fabric and so little paint, but rewarding nonetheless. So, yeah, that is the background for these illustrations. So, this book was published in 2010 by Simon & Schuster, and I'm going to share with you the biography of the author and the biography of the illustrator. So the author, Donna Jo Napoli, is the acclaimed and award-winning author of Albert, illustrated by Jim LaMarche, a New York Times Best Illustrated Book, and many beloved novels for children. She received the Golden Kite Award and the Sidney Taylor Book Award for Stones and Water and the Nevada Young Readers Award for Daughter of Venice, and her books have been ALA Notable Books. So ALA means the American Library Association. So that's a pretty big deal. Parents' Choice Award recipients and state honor books. She teaches linguistics at Swarthmore College in Pennsylvania, where she lives with her husband. Her children are now grown, and 3 of them are published children's book authors. So that is her keeping it all in the family. When you go to her website, you will see basically a plethora of children's books. She has so many children's books. She's about 71 now, so I'm going to make the assumption that she's still actively writing. She goes out, does outreach with children, workshops with children. So she's a very giving author. I love seeing authors being active in the lives of children. So, Kadir Nelson, my illustrator. Kadir Nelson is the celebrated illustrator of many books for children, including Moses, When Harriet Tubman Led Her People to Freedom. I was trying to find that book for Harriet Tubman's birthday, and I couldn't. Written by Carol Boston Weatherford, which received a Caldecott Honor Award. Thunder Rose, written by Jardine Nolan. Ellington Was Not a Street, written by Ntozake Shange, who's the author of the play For Color Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. She also has another book called Freedom's a Callin' Me, which received a Coretta Scott King Illustrator Award. Mr. Nelson's authorial debut, We Are the Ship, The Story of Negro League Baseball, was a New York Times bestseller, a Society of Illustrators silver medalist, a Sybert medalist, and a Coretta Scott King author award winner, and a Coretta Scott King Illustrator Honor Award winner. Mr. Nelson lives with his family in San Diego, California. I'm just like, why don't you just give him all the awards? I swear to God, if you put him on a book, it's going to sell. It's just going to sell out. He is the magic touch of illustrators. So yes, they both have websites. I will post their websites in the link below. So now, I will get into the book and what it is about. The book, as I said, is basically about Wangari Maathai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I'm sorry. I'll just call her Wangari from now on. Mama Miti means mother of trees because she helped to plant so many trees in Kenya by gathering people together for the greater good of the country. So it starts off showing her as a child and how she was inspired by nature. Throughout the book, the author mentions tadpoles, and I love tadpoles. I love frogs. Frogs and turtles are my favorite ant creatures. So this is one of my favorite pictures in the book. The vibrancy of the fabric really adds to the story. So how she gets her start basically is she begins getting approached by mothers, various women that are suffering from various issues. So one woman she didn't have enough food to eat for her children. There is no longer a job for me in the timber mill. I have no other skills. What can I do? Another woman was like, my cows are sick. What do I do? And another said, I don't have any shelter. My house was destroyed. What do I do? And they state that she was very wise. So I don't know how all these women found her. I'm going to assume it's because of her career field, because she's the first African woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize. That was in 2004. So she was born April 1st, 1940 in Kenya. And it says, at that time, girls from rural Kenya rarely received an education, but she studied in the United States and in Germany. When she returned to Kenya, she worked in veterinary medicine at the University of Nairobi. Now, veterinary medicine, I've heard from other people that some people, when they are trying to be a veterinarian, it's so difficult that they drop out and go to medical school. But just think about it, like you're not dealing with just one body, which is the human body. You're dealing with all of these creatures' bodies. So she's a very intelligent woman, and she was the first woman in Central or Eastern Africa to earn a PhD. She was also the first woman to head any department at any university in Kenya. So when you have this background, what they say in the story makes sense. What the author is saying about, we know you're wise, because they can see she's educated. News will spread throughout the country that there's this woman that knows a lot of things. She knows about nature. She knows about trees and animals. She's an environmentalist. So help me. I'm suffering. So as a result of these people coming to ask her for help, you see this? She tells them, open your hands. These are strong hands. And she gives them various seedlings. So for each person, she doesn't give them the same seedling. She'll be like, use this seed. This will help you with your cow. Use this seed. This will help with growing timber. This will help if your child is sick. This will help if you want water to flow. And the trees have different names. So the story continues. It repeats itself throughout the book. Women come to her. She gives them a particular tree or sapling. And she says, Thayu, I'm pronouncing that correctly, Thayu Niyumba, peace my people. At first, I thought this was Kiswahili, because Kiswahili is the national, I'm assuming, the national language of Kenya, or at least the official language of Zanzibar City was standardized in the 1930s. So a lot of Africans will use Kiswahili as a second language if it's not their original language. But in the back of the book, it states that this is Kikuyu. Kikuyu. So for each tree, you will see in the glossary the Kikuyu name for the trees, but you'll also see the scientific name for the tree as well. So, example, moringa, a large tree cut for timber covered with white flowers. Mukawa, a thorny bush with edible berries. Muhuti, a tree used to make cattle enclosures. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot just from reading this book. I learned a couple of words, but it focuses on the beautiful part, the beautiful aspect of Wangari helping people to make Kenya a more beautiful place. When I looked up some videos, trying to find videos with interviews with her, there was somebody in one of the interviews that stated that Kenya used to have lots of trees, but due to deforestation, some of the water streams, some of the streams and lakes had completely dried up and there was a drought. So I like that this story or this book just focuses on the positive part, all of the good that she did, because when she was going through this whole everything, when she was helping make the world a better place, when she was providing greenery to her country, she was getting in that political field. Now you're getting into politics now. So she's, clash heads with the powers that be. She had companies that were trying to deforest and take away more trees to make money. And she's basically saying, look, you can't do this to my country, especially if you're not from my country and you're making decisions for it. So it says in 1976, she started the Green Belt movement. She was working for the National Council of Women in Kenya. So the Green Belt movement is a national grassroots organization to combat deforestation of Kenya. And I believe it still exists to this day. Through the years, she courageously and consistently argued for the peaceful coexistence of people and nature, often battling political and economic powers that stood to gain financially from cutting down trees. So she kept being thrown in prison. She was put in prison in 1991. She had this vicious court battle with her ex-husband, and you won't believe what this dude said, according to what I found out. He basically said she can't be controlled. This is too much, because he was in politics too, I'm assuming. But I thought that was interesting because of these notable, powerful women in history, especially during Women's History Month. You will notice that they went against the grain. Even if it was for the greater good, they went against the grain. And that was a threat to some people that were trying to stand in their way. There were people out there who wanted to become obstacles because they did not want to see a woman succeed, even if her success was everybody's success. So yeah, her and her husband divorced. I think the judge awarded him some money. She said it was basically politically motivated and all of that. But she left her children with her husband and didn't get them until 1985 because she had to focus on the greater good. So she saw her children, but she had to keep working on this movement. It says in 1976, she introduced the idea of planting trees for peace to Kenyan citizens. Since then, the Green Belt movement has planted more than 30 million trees in Kenya and in other countries of Africa. The trees prevent soil erosion, filter water and air, and provide firewood and food and timber for shelters. The work is done primarily by village women who are reclaiming their rights and responsibilities as keepers of the earth and caretakers of its future. So Wangari died in 2011, but her legacy still lasts to this day. After I read this book, I was so inspired. Like, you don't even know how inspired I am. I was so inspired. I said, I need to get more involved in helping the earth. I don't do enough to help the earth. I recycle everything. I I reuse my papers, I pick up trash off of the ground, but I feel it's not enough. So I decided that every month I'm going to, or twice a month, or with every paycheck, I'm going to donate at least $25 to the Forest Relief in St. Louis. And basically, the $25 goes to planting a tree. You can name it in honor of someone. And my goal is to, with each paycheck, dedicate a tree to someone from Black history. So I want to do Emmett Till, I want to do Queen Nzinga and Dr. George Washington Carver. The first tree that I've done, which I got today, was for myself for my 30th birthday in August. So yeah, just spread goodness throughout the world. When you go higher, as far as on Forest Relief, the higher you donate, the more things you get. So if it's $50, then you can get watercolor cards from local artists. I'm like, that's pretty neat. So yes, please be inspired by Mama Miti, the mother of trees. Do something for your community to help make the world a more beautiful place. Plant a tree. Arbor Day's literally next month. Arbor Day's next month. Do something for that. Dedicate a tree to a loved one. See what your city does with tree dedication. Like maybe you could plant it for your anniversary. Maybe you could give it as a gift for someone's birthday, or to remember somebody that you loved, or even a hero or heroine from history. So yes, that is the end of this. And everybody have a beautiful rest of your Women's History Month. Make sure that you read books about powerful women, women that were game changers and changed the course of history. And everybody have a beautiful night. Bye-bye.